This year, as the United Kingdom prepared to welcome King Charles III, it was hard not to reflect on the long legacy of its previous monarchs, including, of course, the most enduring Queen Elizabeth II. As the longest reigning British monarch, she led the country through immense change over her 70-year reign, from post-war recovery to the digital age. But how did she mark those triumphs? What were her greatest victory speeches? I have never regarded the Commonwealth as a burden, but rather as an enriching experience. Liliuokalani was the last monarch of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Her overthrow in 1895 was a complex affair, the result of decades of socio-political tension. When the Committee of Safety arrived at her palace demanding her abdication, the Queen resisted, aware that their goal was ultimately the annexation of Hawaii by the United States. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was known for her wit and her ability to connect with people on a personal level. Perhaps this was because she wasn't expected to be queen for most of her life. While the event was steeped in tradition, the Queen of Tonga used the opportunity to demonstrate her own culture and values. She rode in an open carriage with her husband and 3 daughters, despite the pouring rain, waving to the crowds lining the streets. Tonga had been part of the British Empire for decades, but this was a rare opportunity to showcase Tongan culture on the world stage. In one famous photograph, the Queen can be seen smiling broadly, seemingly unfazed by the downpour. The image became an instant classic and cemented the Queen's status as a modern and progressive monarch. After the ceremony, she later reflected on the experience, saying, "The love of the people is the real power of a queen." The coronation was a turning point in Tonga's history, and Queen Salote's presence helped to usher in a new era of independence and self-determination. Initially, it was believed that her eldest daughter would ascend to the throne, but following her sister's abdication, Elizabeth found herself first in line. Either way, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. She famously remarked, "Who wants to be a queen anyway?" Still, she took her duties seriously and went on to reign for 59 years. During World War II, London was bombed heavily by the Luftwaffe, and in 1941, a bomb landed in the street outside the House of Parliament, killing 1 person and injuring 39 others. The Queen Mother was staying at Windsor Castle at the time, but immediately set out for London to show her support for the city and its people. On arrival, she visited the scene of the bombing and spoke to those affected by it. Afterwards, she remarked, "I'm so glad we're in this together." These words of solidarity resonated deeply with the people of London and beyond, offering them comfort and reassurance in a time of great difficulty. Today, she's still remembered for her strength, resilience, and compassion in the face of adversity. Still, she refused to sign the document presented to her until she added this handwritten note. In 2009, she delivered a stirring TED Talk that touched on the importance of interfaith dialogue and bridging divides. The talk came at a time when the Arab world was increasingly viewed in the West as a source of terrorism and instability. And in her remarks, the Queen challenged these stereotypes, arguing that the responsibility for extremism lies with all parties, not just the Muslim world. She implored the West to acknowledge its own role in fostering extremism and called for increased understanding and cooperation between cultures. One of her most memorable quotes from that speech is, "If we don't try to bridge the divide between East and West, we will continue to live in fear. But if we succeed, we will build a better future for all of our children." This call for dialogue and understanding has become a rallying cry for those seeking to promote peace and understanding in an increasingly polarized world. Now, to avoid any collision of armed forces and perhaps the loss of life, I do, under this protest, bearing witness to the injustice of this whole proceeding, yield my authority as the military force is at my palace, and I can resist no longer. My hope is that the power to whom I yield it will use it for the good of Hawaii and its people. These words may not be a rousing battle cry, but they have become a touchstone for Hawaiian sovereignty and a reminder of the cost of colonialism. It has been an opportunity for me to gain a deeper understanding of the great issues which affect us all and the way in which different countries can work together to solve them. There they broadcast to their homeland regularly via Radio Orana. This was on full display in 1917 when, in spite of being in her late 60s, she enlisted in the Women's Land Army to help feed the nation during World War I when rationing was introduced. She said, "As far as food is concerned, there should be enough for everybody if we all take a fair share and do without luxuries. I see no reason why we should eat fewer eggs because other people are doing without them. If you don't eat eggs, you don't get the full nourishment you need." A woman ahead of her time, she understood that the war effort required the participation of everyone, regardless of gender. Her service was an example to others and helped to promote the idea that women could contribute to the war effort in meaningful ways. Although she died in 1953, she continues to be remembered as a symbol of duty, service, and sacrifice. Over the station, Queen Wilhelmina would keep the Dutch people up to date about the war and implore them to resist the Nazis. In one message in particular, she said, "Never forget that each day brings us closer to liberation. We will reclaim our country." Although she was forced into exile, she was able to maintain a connection with her people and symbolize the ongoing struggle against Nazi tyranny. After the war ended, she was greeted as the mother of the resistance. In 1969, she marked the Apollo 11 moon landing with these words, "It is a great thing man has done." Man has conquered the moon in his quest to understand and explore the universe. By the 1990s, she was reflecting on the changes she'd seen. Who would have thought that the world would come so close to ending? She asked, referencing the Cold War. We all look forward to a brighter and better world where poverty has been conquered, where health is no longer a burden, and where war is only a bad memory. Sadly, that vision hasn't yet been fully realized. But over the course of her long life, she continued to lead the country through triumph and tragedy until her final years, when she handed the crown over to her son, Charles, and passed away in September 2022. Join me today as we look at 5 of the most inspiring speeches by queens throughout history. The first time young Princess Elizabeth saw her father, King George VI, deliver a radio address to the nation, she reportedly told her governess, "I want to do that one day." Well, she certainly made good on her promise. And no royal speech had more impact than her 1953 coronation address. Newly married to Prince Philip and just 2 years into her marriage, the young queen nonetheless knew what was expected of her. And she wasted no time in affirming her commitment to the crown and to God. "I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong." That declaration has proven true over the decades. Elizabeth spoke to the Commonwealth in 1963, telling them, "My message is simple and direct." Not every queen's victory speech can be one of unbridled joy. Sometimes even giving up is a kind of victory. When German troops invaded the Netherlands in 1940, they quickly overran the country, forcing then Queen Wilhelmina and her daughter Princess Juliana to flee to London. While most people think of Queen Elizabeth II as a stoic figure who rarely reveals her personal feelings, Queen Mary of Teck was known for her vivacious personality and love of her country. While some royal addresses are written for the occasion, some are not. A former teacher, Queen Rania of Jordan, uses her platform to advocate for education, women's rights, and Middle East peace. In 1953, Queen Salote Tupu III of Tonga accompanied Queen Elizabeth II to her coronation in London. Would you like these turned into a downloadable document, or are you looking for inspiration for a fictional queen's victory speech? We just did a video on the most epic speeches by queens, and I am back because there were so many more that didn't make the cut, but are equally as powerful and inspiring. And while you're at it, let us know in the comments which of these speeches you think is the best. As always, you can read the full transcripts of these speeches in the description below. It was written by historian Lord Lawrence and delivered by the Viceroy of India, Lord Canning. On August 31st, 1997, Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car crash in Paris. From the 1600s, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba is one of the greatest queens in history. And although her story isn't widely known, it certainly should be. From diplomacy to religious tolerance to standing up for women's rights, these queens showed courage, strength, and conviction. And whether they won their battles or not, their voices echoed through time and continue to inspire us today. Speaking of inspiration, if you enjoyed this video and would like to learn more about amazing women throughout history, please subscribe and stay tuned for more content. Thank you for watching. Nzinga was the fierce warrior queen of the kingdom of Ndongo and Matamba in what is now Angola. When colonizers invaded her land, she negotiated directly with the Portuguese, trying to secure favorable trade deals. But when that failed, she led a prolonged resistance against the Portuguese for 40 years. Though she eventually lost the war, her legacy lives on. One of the most famous quotes attributed to Nzinga comes from a meeting with Portuguese officials in 1624. According to Portuguese chronicler José Fernandes de Oliveira, she told them, quote, "Your people come with fire and greed. Mine come with pride and memory." This speech has become emblematic of Africa's struggle against colonialism, and today she is celebrated as a feminist and African national hero. Another meeting between Nzinga and Portuguese official Garcia de Sintra in 1626 reveals her skill as a negotiator and diplomat. When Senna demanded tribute from Nzinga, she replied, quote, "We do not know what it means to pay tribute. Our fathers never paid any tribute to anyone. They lived free and happy in peace and friendship with neighboring tribes. Nobody can force us to pay tribute unless we want to." These words show Nzinga's determination to maintain her people's freedom and sovereignty. The news shook the world, and many felt that the royal family should comment publicly. On November 29, 1529, Catherine of Aragon appeared before a tribunal of English lawyers at Blackfriars to defend herself against charges that would ultimately lead to her divorce from King Henry VIII. The king wanted a male heir, and believing Catherine couldn't provide one, he began proceedings to end their 24-year marriage. The hearing was held in the Great Hall at Blackfriars, and the court, which included the 17-year-old Edward VI, listened to Catherine's eloquent defense of her marriage and her right to remain queen. The speech was recorded by Chapais, the imperial ambassador to England, and translated into English by Lady Mary Lucy. It begins, quote, "When ye had me at first, I take God to be my judge. I was a true maid as well before your highness, whom I yet hold to be my lawful and proper husband, as before all the world. And since I have been in this realm, I have been a true and lawful queen, and so shall remain until the death do us part." Catherine then outlined how she had been married to Henry for 24 years, and they had produced one surviving child, Mary. She also emphasized that her marriage was blessed both before God and man, making it impossible for Henry to marry someone else. She concluded, quote, "Mine is a royal crown, which I dare not cast down upon the dust nor tread it underfoot. And if it please God to restore me to my ladyship, I will so order myself therein that there shall not grow in the realm such another scandal as there hath done." Now, while Catherine didn't win her case and was eventually forced out of the kingdom, she made many in the court see her side of things. And perhaps surprisingly, considering the pressure she was under, she displayed remarkable composure and eloquence, showing how a medieval queen could stand her ground. But Queen Elizabeth II waited 2 days before addressing the nation live on television. Perhaps she was waiting for her own emotions to settle. Whatever the reason, her speech restored public trust in the monarchy and turned the tide of negative press at the time. The speech began, quote, "I wanted to speak to you today about the death of your Diana, Princess of Wales. As you know, this has been a very sad and traumatic time for all of us, and we've been deeply touched by the many kind words that have been said about her." Then she addressed Diana directly saying, quote, "Whatever else history may say of her, I like to think that she would wish to be remembered as a positive force in our society, a shining example of the compassion and generosity which she herself showed to others." She went on to express her admiration for Diana, quoting, "She was a total natural." The mourners at the back of the crowd outside the palace, those whose grief and loss were just as real, though less visible or less tangible than our own, will understand what I say. Finally, she offered words of comfort and solace, saying, quote, "We grieve with you. We know how much you loved her." The speech was notable not only for its sentiment, but also for its brevity and simplicity. It marked a turning point in the relationship between the royal family and the media, showing that they were capable of engaging with the public's emotions. It also reinforced Elizabeth's role as a stabilizing figure in times of national or even global grief, and it would formally transfer power in India from the East India Company to the British Crown. But it was also a moment to acknowledge the brutality of the recent past and shape a new future. The year before, the Indian Rebellion of 1857 had erupted in part over the introduction of a new rifle cartridge greased with animal fat. The cartridges, deemed religiously impure by Indian soldiers, sparked an armed revolt against the East India Company, which quickly spread across northern India. While the rebellion was eventually put down, the East India Company was discredited and its rule in India came to an end. Now, this was a volatile moment in history, and there were fears that further unrest could erupt. So Lord Canning decided to use the opportunity to announce changes in policy. The proclamation began, quote, "Victoria, Empress of India, to our paramount chiefs and to the people of India." Then it went on to announce new policies of religious tolerance and non-interference. For instance, it promised that there would be no forced conversions to Christianity. It also stated that the British government would protect the religious rights and institutions of the people of India. Most importantly, it declared, quote, "We hold ourselves bound to the natives of our Indian territories by the same obligations of duty which bind us to all our other subjects." So it was a conciliatory gesture towards Indians, especially after the violent suppression of the rebellion. The proclamation became symbolic of the British Raj, which lasted until India's independence in 1947, and it is still remembered as an important moment in Indian colonial history. So here are 6 more incredible speeches or public declarations by queens or queenly figures that changed history. Number 6, Queen Marie of Romania, post-World War I diplomacy. On October 29, 1919, Queen Marie of Romania attended a banquet at the Paris Peace Conference in the aftermath of World War I. The conference was working out the terms for ending the war and redefining Europe's borders. This affected Romania greatly because it had fought alongside the Allies during the war, but also because its borders had been dramatically redrawn. Romania wanted to increase its territory to include areas with large Romanian populations that had previously been ruled by other countries. Marie, who was well liked in France, used this banquet to argue for her country's position. According to the memoirs of French diplomat Maurice Paléologue, when it was time for Romania's delegation to speak, everyone was ready to listen. He wrote, quote, "Everyone knows the part played by the Queen of Romania in the victory of our arms. We owe much to her influence on public opinion in Romania, which has done so much for the common cause. She is loved by her people, who call her the Soldier Queen, I am going to allow her to tell you how her country desires to serve the great task of reconstruction. Then Marie stood up and said, quote, I came not as a queen, but as the mother of my people. You have heard, gentlemen, the claims of justice and equity presented by our delegation. In supporting them, I do not come as a queen before you, but as the mother of my people. If you give us justice, you give it to a nation that bled with you. Her impassioned plea for a fair shake for her country helped to cement Romania's newfound borders after the war, and she became known as the Soldier Queen for her wartime efforts. Now, if you like these sorts of videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 7, Queen Victoria, Proclamation to India. In the early morning of November 1st, 1858, Queen Victoria issued a proclamation that would forever change India. Number 8, Queen Elizabeth II, Address on the Death of Princess Diana. No. 9, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba, Diplomatic Declarations. Number 10, Queen Catherine of Aragon, Speech at Blackfriars. So there you have it, 6 more incredible speeches or declarations by queens that changed history. Welcome back to my channel. Last week we covered 6 historical queens and queen figures whose words are still quoted, taught in schools, and serve as models of leadership. If you missed part 1, you can check out the first 6 through the provided link or cards. And now, without further ado, let's dive into the next 6. Elizabeth came to power after a tumultuous reign of her half-sister Mary, during which England reverted to Catholicism and saw brutal persecution of Protestants. Elizabeth addressed Parliament in 1559, outlining her Protestant leanings while calling for moderation and healing within the nation. Her efforts to reform the Constitution and increase Native Hawaiian participation in government triggered a coup d'etat, leading to the deposition of herself and her nephew, taking away Hawaii's independence and later its annexation as a U.S. territory. The day before the forced abdication, she penned a powerful protest in her journal. Quote, Though dethroned, I am still the queen of a people. This simple yet defiant statement encapsulates her fierce determination to preserve her heritage and culture despite the injustice inflicted upon her and her people. During the revolt of her sons against Henry II of England in 1173, Eleanor found herself in Aquitaine. In 1980, Queen Juliana of the Netherlands made the decision to abdicate in favor of her daughter Beatrix, citing health reasons. She had reigned for 32 years, and her abdication was met with widespread approval. Feel free to share your thoughts and insights in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed learning about these amazing women. If you want to support my work, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and following me on social media. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning. In her moving speech, she stated, I step aside not with sorrow, but with peace. The crown does not make the queen. The people do. Her choice to voluntarily relinquish the throne contributed to the Dutch people's perception of the monarchy as a dedicated institution of service, rather than a symbol of wealth and privilege. Her speech is remembered for its simplicity and sincerity, which helped boost public trust in the monarchy during a time of significant social and political change. Furthermore, her humility and graceful acceptance of her limitations earned her a place among the most beloved monarchs in Dutch history. When a messenger arrived requesting that she join the royal cause against her rebellious sons, she allegedly replied, Go tell my sons that I'm coming. Firstly, many of these speeches show moral courage. Whether on the battlefield, in exile, or against political pressure, these women used words as weapons and shields. They stood up for what they believed in, even in the face of adversity, and inspired others to do the same. Secondly, most of the speeches emphasize connection. They reached out to their audiences by appealing to shared identity, be it national, spiritual, or personal. They created a sense of unity and purpose that transcended their individual circumstances. Lastly, many of the quotes reflect a focus on legacy over dominance. They saw their roles as serving their people and leaving a positive impact on the world, rather than simply acquiring power and wealth. Their words continue to resonate today because they capture universal human experiences and values. Reconstructed from chronicler accounts, her actual address might have gone something like this: "You were not born to follow. You were born to rule. If a crown must be claimed with blood, then let it be so, but with honor." Imprisoned for years for her perceived role in the rebellion, Eleanor saw all three of her sons become kings in her lifetime. She remains the only medieval queen popularly credited with shaping dynastic succession and warfare directly. Today she is seen as a matriarch of European royal politics. Quote, "I do not desire to change or utterly to overthrow all that my predecessors have done." Before the battle against the Seljuks in 1202, she is said to have addressed her army. Quote, "Stand today not as soldiers, but as sons of Georgia." In 1984, Queen Margrethe II gave an annual New Year's address in which she spoke about the growing pace of modern life. She urged her people to slow down and appreciate the important things. Quote, "Let us not lose ourselves in hurry. The strength of our kingdom is in the people who still look their neighbor in the eye." The speech became a defining national value. It sparked debate about Danish national identity in a globalizing world. While Queen Margrethe II is known for thoughtful, philosophical speeches, this one in particular struck a chord with the public, cementing her status as a beloved and enduring figurehead. "Let your sword speak for your homeland, and let your courage honor our ancestors." Georgia won a crushing victory. Tamer's reign is remembered as Georgia's golden age. She became a symbol of divine and just rule, and is canonized as a saint in the Georgian Orthodox Church, but only to amend, reform, or abolish such abuses as have crept in. There she addressed both her court and the people. Quote, "God has made us instruments of his will. Let this be not a conquest of cruelty, but a dawn of one faith, one crown, one Spain." Though controversial due to the subsequent expulsion of Jews and Muslims, the moment marked a turning point in Spanish and European history. Her speech serves as a powerful testament to the role of religion in politics and the indelible impact of faith on the course of human events. She established a system of religious tolerance, commonly referred to as Elizabethan religious settlement. This allowed for the rise of Puritanism and laid the groundwork for the English Reformation to gain momentum. Number 7. Queen Zingambandi of Ndongo and Matamba. Matilda played a significant role in the coronation of her husband, Henry I, as King of Germany in 1096. Though women were barred from publicly holding office, she was no stranger to wielding power behind the throne. When Henry set off on the First Crusade, he left Matilda in charge. She held court, administered justice, and protected the realm. But when rival nobles attempted to take advantage of her gender, she called upon the strength of God and her own personal fortitude. Quote, "Does anyone think I am weak or contemptible because I am a woman?" In the face of Portuguese colonization, Queen Zingambandi skillfully wielded diplomacy and language as tools of war. In 1624, she defiantly addressed a Portuguese herald, demanding that the Europeans abandon the slave trade in exchange for the riches of Angola. When the Portuguese refused, she left negotiations and picked up arms. She went on to unite neighboring tribes and lead guerrilla armies, constantly outmaneuvering the colonial forces and never giving up her freedom. Number 8. Queen Elizabeth I of England. Number 9. Empress Matilda of Germany, also known as Matilda of Flanders. Number 10. Queen Liliuokalani of Hawaii. Liliuokalani came to power in 1891 at a time when Hawaii's monarchy was threatened by U.S. imperialism. Number 11. Queen Tamar of Georgia. As Georgia's first female monarch, Queen Tamar led her kingdom to military and cultural glory. Number 12, Queen Isabella I of Castile. After the fall of Granada in 1492, marking the end of Muslim rule in Spain, Isabella and Ferdinand entered the Alhambra. Number 13, Queen Margrethe II of Denmark. Number 14, Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine. Number 15, Queen Juliana of the Netherlands. These 15 quotes by queens and queen figures span centuries, continents, and ideologies. However, they share some common themes. Which of these quotes do you find the most inspiring and why? Hello, everyone. Number 20, Queen Hatshepsut of Egypt, Temple Inscriptions and Divine Justification. One of Egypt's few female pharaohs. Hatshepsut ruled in the 5th-10th century BC. Queen Zaraya Tarzi was a pivotal figure in early 20th century Afghanistan, serving as the consort to King Amanullah Khan, the first king of a newly independent Afghanistan. Queen Letizia of Spain has been a prominent voice for gender equality in recent years. Queen Noor of Jordan is a prominent global figure known for her humanitarian work and advocacy. Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee in 1887 marked 50 years of her reign, a significant milestone in British history. Although the Queen did not deliver the speech herself, it was read on her behalf, reflecting her thoughts and feelings at the time. The excerpt chosen encapsulates the essence of her reign and the vast reach of the British Empire. From every quarter of the empire, my subjects have offered their loyalty and love. I have received the most loyal addresses from my people in every part of my dominions, all expressing the same prayerful wish for the continuance of my reign and the same determination to preserve inviolate the glorious inheritance which has been handed down to us and to maintain the dignity of the crown and the independence of the nation. From every corner of the empire, my loyal people have offered their heartfelt prayers to Almighty God for the preservation of my life. And I feel, my children, how much I owe to their devoted attachment and the blessing of divine providence. May the blessings of peace and unity continue to be ours, and may good order and perfect harmony, under the fatherhood of God and the protection of divine grace, continue among us in every province of the empire and among all classes of our people. Delivered at the height of the British Empire, the speech highlights the vastness and diversity of the territories under British rule. It acknowledges the contributions of various regions while affirming the central role of the monarch and the unity of the empire. Victoria's personal connection to her people is evident in the use of terms like my subjects and my people, emphasizing the emotional bond that she had with those she ruled over. The speech also conveys the Queen's deep sense of duty and the weight of her responsibilities. Despite the passage of 50 years, she expresses her determination to continue fulfilling her role and preserving the British heritage. The mention of passing on the glorious inheritance alludes to the future of the monarchy, showcasing the Queen's commitment to maintaining the stability and prosperity of the empire for generations to come. The concluding lines express gratitude for the support of her people and seek divine favor for the continued unity and peace of the empire. This speech, though delivered in the late 19th century, remains a critical moment in British imperial history. It encapsulates the feelings of unity, pride, and continuity that characterize the Victorian era. However, it is important to view this speech today through a post-colonial lens, recognizing the complexities and consequences of the empire it so proudly represents. Born into a U.S. family, she has played a significant role in shaping Jordan's role on the world stage, particularly regarding peace and human rights. Her speeches often resonate with audiences worldwide, touching upon themes of global peace, nuclear disarmament, environmental sustainability, and human rights. One powerful quote from a speech she gave at a UN conference encapsulates her approach, Peace is not the absence of war, but the presence of justice, and justice requires dignity. Dignity requires voice. The statement goes beyond a simple definition of peace. It underscores the Queen's belief that true peace can only exist when all parties are treated with respect and fairness. It emphasizes the importance of dialogue, understanding, and empathy in achieving lasting peace agreements. Queen Noor has consistently advocated for these principles in various contexts, from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to the Syrian refugee crisis, demonstrating a deep commitment to finding peaceful solutions to complex global problems. She firmly believes in the power of cross-cultural understanding and regularly engages with various communities to promote dialogue and cooperation between different civilizations and religions. Her efforts have earned her international recognition as a bridge builder and peacemaker. Moreover, the Queen is actively involved in post-conflict situations, working to rebuild communities and promote reconciliation. She has played a key role in the reconstruction of Bosnia and Herzegovina and has been a strong supporter of efforts to preserve cultural heritage sites in areas affected by conflict. Queen Noor continues to travel extensively, using her position and influence to promote peace, understanding, and sustainable human development around the globe. Her speeches often touch upon critical issues like women's health, gender violence, and equal opportunity, reflecting her deep commitment to advancing women's rights. One particular speech delivered by the Queen in 2021 has resonated widely. Addressing the topic of gender violence, she stated, "A society that turns away from the pain of its women is a society that chooses silence over justice." This powerful statement underscores the urgency for collective action against gender-based violence. Queen Letizia's influence stems from her unique background. Before her marriage to King Philippe in 2004, she worked as a journalist, which equipped her with a strong communication skill set. She has consistently leveraged this skill to address pressing social issues, particularly those concerning women. Her choice of words is carefully calibrated to both empathize with the struggles faced by women and to challenge the status quo. For instance, in another speech commemorating the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, she said, "Every act of violence against women and girls is not just a private tragedy. It is a social and public issue that affects us all." This declaration effectively moved the discussion beyond individual failings and placed it squarely on the societal structures and cultural norms that perpetuate gender-based violence. Furthermore, Queen Letizia's frequent engagements with organizations working to empower women and girls demonstrate her active commitment. She has visited shelters for victims of domestic abuse, attended events promoting women's entrepreneurship, and participated in initiatives supporting girls' education. Each of these appearances is not just a royal duty, but a deliberate effort to bring attention to the challenges and triumphs of women in contemporary Spain. Queen Letizia's consistent advocacy has helped push women's rights to the forefront of public discourse in Spain. While she operates within the constraints of her position, she has managed to become one of the most influential voices for gender equality in the country. During her marriage, which lasted from 1923 to 1929, Soraya played a significant role in advocating for women's rights and modernization in the traditionally conservative Afghan society. She was particularly passionate about girls' education, which was almost non-existent at the time. According to an account from 1927, Soraya delivered a speech to an assembly of girls at a nascent school in Kabul. In her address, she emphasized that Afghan women had an essential role in the progress and development of their nation. Quoting the Queen, "Do not think that only men can serve this nation. Women too have a duty to their country through learning, teaching, and progress." This statement was far from a mere courtesy. It was a powerful assertion of gender equality that directly challenged the prevalent social norms of the time. Soraya's advocacy for girls' education was deeply rooted in her belief that an educated populace, regardless of gender, was vital for the advancement of any nation. She understood that educating girls would not only empower them as individuals, but would also contribute to the broader societal progress. Despite facing considerable opposition from conservative elements within Afghan society, Soraya persevered in her efforts. She opened schools, appointed female teachers, and encouraged families to send their daughters to learn. Unfortunately, Soraya's progressive reforms, including those related to women's rights, eventually led to her and her husband's exile from Afghanistan in 1929. Nevertheless, her contribution to the cause of women's education was monumental. The seeds she planted during her brief tenure as queen continued to bear fruit for generations of Afghan women who followed. Her legacy lives on, inspiring countless Afghan women to pursue education and take on leadership roles in various spheres of life. She was the second pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, having previously served as regent for her stepson Thutmose III. However, her claim to the throne was somewhat controversial as she was not in the direct male line of succession. To legitimize her reign, Hatshepsut extensively used temple inscriptions where she cast herself as divinely appointed. This was essential in a patriarchal world to ensure both popular and divine legitimacy. At her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, there is an inscription that reads, "I am the daughter of Aman. He fashioned me to wear the double crown and rule upon the throne of the living." This declaration established a crucial link between her, the royal lineage, and the gods. By tracing her ancestry back to the divine king of the gods, Amun, she asserted that her rule was ordained by the heavens. She also utilized the temple to highlight her connection to previous rulers, such as her father, Seqenenre Dao, and her husband Thutmose II, further solidifying her place in the Egyptian royal narrative. These inscriptions went beyond mere historical records. They were a form of strategic speech that allowed Hatshepsut to shape how her legacy would be perceived. In essence, they were her way of communicating her divine right to rule and the legitimacy of her actions throughout her reign. This strategy proved effective as her 22-year rule is remembered as one of the most peaceful and prosperous periods in ancient Egypt. Her focus on trade and building projects left a lasting impact on Egypt's cultural and economic landscape. It wasn't until much later that her successor, Thutmose III, attempted to erase Hatshepsut's legacy, perhaps due to the challenges it posed to his own lineage. The erasure was largely unsuccessful, though, with remnants of her reign found throughout Egypt. Today, Hatshep stands as a reminder of a powerful female leader who used the tools of the ancient world to secure her place in history. Number 19, Queen Soraya Tarsi of Afghanistan, Education Reform Speech. Number 18, Queen Letizia of Spain, Gender Equality Speeches. Number 17, Queen Noor of Jordan, Global Humanitarian Advocacy. Number 16, Queen Empress Victoria, Jubilee Speech Excerpt.